Alright, and you're running across and seeing a bunch of zealots and some colossus.
Yep.
Alright, and immediately you're making a bunch of zerglings. Okay.
Generally, Zerglings aren't the greatest against Colossus, but you don't really have any other tech right now, so that's obviously why you made them. But I think roaches and corruptors do well against Colossus-centric composition.
Yeah, that's the ideal composition right now. Those zerglings are going to melt a colossus pretty easily.
Yeah, you did get fairly early upgrades, so that's something.
Yeah, you definitely
You
did
do
good
have.
on the upgrades. Alright, and he's pushing in now. Alright, and I see you got the bailings for our zealots. That's good, at least. And you
Yeah,
do a fairly good job cleaning this up, even though he had an army basically to counter yours, except for the corruptors. But that's just because he had an overwhelming army. But you would have been able to do a lot better, and you probably would have been able to take out the rest of that if you kept up with your larva spendage,
yeah.
spending your
Just
larva
your
more.
macro was just not as strong as it could be. Could have had much, like way more units if you just droned up harder and took like a third base earlier. So it just comes back in the end.
Yeah, and this is probably going to be game, even if you do hold it off, because he's killing a lot of your drones.
Yeah, and using your main, your tech structures are going to go down too, probably.
Okay, so can we say again what was the ideal composition you would like to have against this mainly zealot Colossus army?
I'd like to have a Roach Corruptor ideally, because Roaches do decent against. I mean, yeah, Roaches do decent against Colossus, and Corruptors obviously counter Colossus. Zergling's obviously not the best idea because they just kind of die instantly to Colossus.
And roaches do
But
phenomenal against zealots.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you just lacked scouting, so you could never really tell what he's going to be moving out with. Even if you did anticipate it somewhat correctly with those corruptors, it didn't end. It didn't end in a good way.
Yeah. All right, and you got a bunch of banelings here splashing into. Whoa, that immortal just took all of that. That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
He's got 27 kills on him.
Wow. That's pretty sick.
All right, yeah. So I think the main thing you have to work on here is your scouting and your macro. You let a lot of your larvae like build up. You haven't been spending them. Your money got high.
And just always check so that you're not going to get supply blocked because those supply blocks really do add up and put you further and further behind.
Okay. And also scouting again. Always have those watchtowers. Always have a ling outside the base to see when he moves out, so you know when you need to be droning and when you need to be making units. And always be poking in with your overlords if you can. This overlord right here, he
Yeah.
didn't do anything. He could have been poking in.
He's just kind of sitting there. And you should always be droning really hard in the early game, unless you're going for some kind of all-in, but that's a different situation.
Okay.
If you're playing like a somewhat standard game, you should be droning as hard as you can and making units at the very last second.
Okay. All right, and you're just
Yeah,
struggling here, trying to get up your spawning pool again. What are you about to say, aaroB?
I was just gonna say that like it's also really important to see how many bases he's on, like I said earlier, because that also dictates whether you should be droning or making units. Because if once they stay on one base for like more than 7 minutes, you kind of know that they're going to be doing a push or some kind of crazy attack with Void Rays, Colossus, or just like a crazy gateway unit attack.
Uh-huh.
So like that alone should tell you that after you drone for say that first 7 minutes, you can just make units and probably be safe because he's going to be all-inning you.
All right, we have some BM here. Okay, yeah, so that looks like that's going to be game. You did it really good with the upgrades. You just have to work on those few things that we talked about.
Yeah, just the fundamental stuff.
Yeah, so too bad we don't have you on chat, but if you want, you can ask us questions, post comments or whatever, wherever you can, and I'll see them. Either on the forums or underneath this video when it goes up. All right. All right, thank you, aaroB. This has been another replay from SC2 Review. Again, I'm Bro Tosteron.
And this is aaroB.
All right, thanks, bros.